JJ the CPA here. I'm going to put together a more detailed video, but I wanted to get word out right away. There's been a lot of questions about my position on the employee retention credit, the ERC. And my position has been that you can take that credit before you get PPP money and after the Triple P money. And the reasoning for that is that you're using your own money, for starters. The second reason for that is that with the other tax credits out of the Families First Coronavirus Relief Act, that you could not use, and it clearly states it in the CARES Act, the credits as a payroll cost for the PPP. So as it relates to the ERC, when I look into the law, and I'll do a more specific email where I bring the law up, it does clearly indicate, in my opinion, that you can take the employee retention credit for first quarter 2020, period, the end. As it relates to, though, in the law, which I will go through, if you look carefully, it does indicate that Treasury will have to give further guidance if there's going to be, in my opinion, a recapture of that credit if a PPP is taken later. When you're talking about a recapture, what that would mean is you took the credit in first quarter, so if you get a PPP in second quarter, in essence, you would owe that money back. So when the IRS just says if you're getting a PPP, you can't do the ERC, I get that they just went to the end result, but that's not truly how it is written. And I don't feel that the law definitively indicated that you have to recapture. Now, I understand in line item J of the ERC, part of the law indicates that you can't. But when it's talking about you can't, it's talking about the covered period. So then the other part of that is that, okay, well, if I get the PPP and I don't take it first quarter and the covered period ends June 30, so the covered period is February 15th, 2020 to June 30, 2020. I understand I just said two things out of my mouth that go this direction, so hold with me. So let's just say we conclude, which I'm not concluding yet, that we can't take it for first quarter, we can't take it for second quarter. But based on what I'm seeing, you would then be able to take it in third or fourth quarter, depending if we still have the coronavirus pandemic, which I hope not. But also the second reason you can take the ERC is if your gross receipts drop more than 50%, that's determined quarter by quarter compared to the prior year's same quarter. So what I am concluding is that Treasury needs to further define it. That's what it says in the law. That's what it says. It says it further needs to define the recapture. So you can take it first quarter, but it appears you would have to recapture it in second quarter. It does appear, though, if you are looking at the covered period, possibly you couldn't even take it first quarter because you couldn't take it for the covered period and the wages start March 13th. That could qualify for this. So even if we're looking at the covered period, then, well, could we take it after? There are other articles out there that indicate there are these same questions for us to resolve. So it does make sense to me that while you're getting your PPP, you can't use it because you're using the government's money. What doesn't make sense to me, and I understand it doesn't have to make sense, it can just be the law. What doesn't make sense to me is that we're using our own money, our clients are using their own money to make payroll until they get PPP. There should be this relief. And so what I ultimately believe will happen is that when the Treasury finally defines this, instead of just saying blanket, you can't take it, because all they're doing is looking at J, which is unfair. Treasury has the final look to go, is there going to be a recapture? How is the recapture going to be done? And then when you're talking about the covered period, are you able to take ERC after June 30? That is up for Treasury, I believe, to further define. So I just don't believe we have enough information. So here will be the recommendation for now for April 12th is we need to actually get further clarification from Treasury. It's not fair for Treasury just to say if you get a PPP, you can't do an ERC, because you can do it first quarter. Is there a recapture? Yes, if you read it clearly, you could get a recapture in second quarter if that's when you take the PPP. But it also clearly states it's during the covered period. So can you get the ERC after the covered period, which would be after June 30? So again, you could take it first quarter, and maybe you want to take it for first quarter because you need the money now. And then once you reopen, you would have to recapture and you'd have to pay it back. And when? By the time that the 941 is due. I get it's controversial, but here's what's controversial. The law is not clear, in my opinion, and the IRS needs to do its job and not just blanket say, you can't do this if it does this, because it's not how this stuff works. It just isn't. It's not an either or. We got ambiguity here and ambiguity here, but here's what we'll do. Hold, wait. If you're going to send in a 7,200 for first quarter, know this right now, it could be that you recapture. I do think that as we need more relief and the business need more relief, and this continues on and on and on, I think ultimately there wouldn't be a recapture, but let's wait and see. All right, hey, I'll do more of a in-depth when I bring up the law, and I appreciate you listening. And then if you would, please subscribe, and then don't you ever forget, you've never met a CPA quite like me.